Just, I
Huh?
was just gonna say I can only stay for part of it. I gotta get back to class.
Problem.
Okay. Well,
All
what?
right.
Okay.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our SUNY Online webinar as part of our series. This is the last one in our series for this semester. I'll be putting a link in the chat later on to invite you to contribute to webinar topics for the fall. We do take a little bit of a hiatus over the summer and get prepared for programming for the next academic year. So I want to welcome you today, and I want to welcome our friends from the COIL network. I want to thank Hope for coordinating this panel and bringing all of these dynamic people together. And so we're excited to hear about the work that you do and your work with Oscar as well. So I'll turn it over to you, Hope.
Yay! Hi, everybody. Wonderful to have you here today. Um, the SUNY online community is very big in my heart. I started as an instructional designer at SUNY Ulster Community College in 2005. And so this is where I learned about what I do now, and I am so happy to have with me here today Dr. Nicole Simon. Would you like to introduce yourself and then pass it to the rest of our presenters today?
Sure, thank you, Hope. Hi, everyone. Nicole Simon from Nassau Community College. I am a STEM professor, I'm an instructional designer, and an avid coiler. And I will turn it over to Jose Luis.
Hello, my name is Jose Luis Jimenez. I represent Andres Catholic University in Venezuela, and I'm still part of the SUNY community because we started with SUNY at our program 7 years ago in Venezuela, and we have grown to a solid institutionalized program of COIL in Venezuela. I pass it to Adele.
I am Adele Merlino with SUNY Maritime. I'm an instructional designer and technologist, as well as a COIL coordinator, and I COIL my course as well.
All right. Um, Thank you, everybody. And we do have some folks that were part of our IITG grant team who unfortunately couldn't be with us today. Ed Beck from SUNY Oneonta, and also Alejandra Pickett from, all of you guys know very well, both Ed and Alejandra. And so they are very much a part of our COIL and Oscar team. So before we really get started, I just want to stop sharing for a second and just ask everyone, hands in the air, people who know what COIL is, hands in the air. I know that Jay knows and Aaron knows. That's good. Anyone? Oh, Aileen! Oh my gosh! Wonderful to see you. What a treat. Aline was the COIL coordinator at SUNY Delhi, and forever, once is forever. And so one thing we love to do when we start is just for everybody to take away your Zoom screen for a second and just to say hello in your mother tongue, just to connect us for a second. So if everybody could get off your video, whatever it is, and just say hello, and we'll just do it quickly, and then you can go back. So, one, at three, we're just all gonna say hello in your mother tongue from wherever you are. So, one, two, three. Hola!
Hi.
Buen
Hola,
buenos.
hola.
Ciao, ciao. Oh, thank you. Thank you all so much. All right. So now that we've gotten to see your lovely face for a sec, we're gonna dig in. And honestly, this is the power of COIL, Collaborative Online International Learning, is to really think about inclusion and flexibility. And our relationship with Oscar takes us to quality and the connection to standards. So with that, I'm gonna keep going. So for those of you who aren't very familiar with what COIL is, we are in around the world working with 225 institutions, and it's just growing. It's a huge community, and it's not just SUNY COIL that's doing it. It's not just this weird idea of ours. It's really gained traction all around the world. There's a huge community in Europe through Uni Collaborate, and there's money. I just heard from Jose Luis, he got a grant from Erasmus, and combining doing virtual collaboration with in-person meeting as well. Celia helps you be able to do the hard questions and those hard conversations. And we did have support with the American Council on Education. Right now, unfortunately, I think that's pulled back. But the American Association of Colleges and Universities believe in COIL so much that they have now hired people at that institution that we all use to assess our own institutions. They are now part of the COIL family. So with that, it's not just something that we at SUNY do, but it's all over. And obviously, we need this more than ever as part of the experiential learning task force through FACT 2. We're looking at experiential learning, and honestly, that's what COIL brings to the party in the classroom. And it's also bringing to the classroom a sense of um, wellness and mental health for our students. And it also provides research opportunities. I know Jay Zhang from Brockport is on the call, and she has done much research and writing of articles and publications and presentations as a result of her COIL work. It's also connected to DEI, and it provides this opportunity for our students, not only for DEI, but global skills that you need in the workplace to understand how to work across cultures. So, for those of you who are trying to think of when your professors come to you and say, I need to do a high impact practice in my course, you can think about COIL as the way to do that. And you can also think about ways in which that you're providing 21st century skills of digital professionalism through doing COIL. It's incredibly flexible, and we love that about what we do. It really can be put into any kind of course, whether it's pre-college, first year experience, within your 15-week course, connected to a faculty-led trip. And there's so many others, and you're going to hear from Adele about that, as well as Jose Luis. And here's an example. We use Padlet often to create a third space. It's a password protected program that you can access through your phone. In this case, this was through SUNY Suffolk, an EOP group that were getting prepared to do science research with their professor, Michelle Turner, and also with a professor from Jose Luis's school in Caracas, Venezuela. Do you, Jose Luis or Adele, want to comment on this?
Yeah, we have used COIL in our EOP program. I think it's a great way of connecting students to other students that are, let's say, we have a lot of Hispanic and Latin American students that are EOP. And by, coiling with Colombia or Mexico, they find commonality to see, hey, these kids are going to college like I am. They're doing it. I can do it too. So that's a motivational thing with EOP students on our campus, and we hope to continue that fairly soon.
Yeah, I want to add to that. And this special project. We had 11 professors from Venezuela and 11 professors from different universities, SUNY universities. And what was interesting, we planned it as a research. We did a pre-test and a post-test in all the 11 interactions. And the results, the testimonies of the students, it was exactly what Adele is mentioning. They felt, for example, American students, Hispanic backgrounds, they felt that they were immersed in a bigger contest. And there were people in other parts of the world that could speak their language and they understood them, and they had the guidance from other students about starting college and the dynamics of college. So this was a very powerful project.
Yeah. I'm also just adding in the chat that students gain resilience from doing this. They're gaining self-efficacy and agency, and they're gaining self-confidence from doing this work. So we are pleased that we can say that from the surveys that we hear, as Jose Luis said. You can think of this in terms very similar to developing an online course, that just with the ADDIE model, you're defining learning outcomes, a length of interaction. You are providing your students a chance to work as an international team where they're problem solving together. And there's pretty much a standard process for this, and we can show you how to do that. One of the wonderful ways in which that we can connect with people from other parts of the world is that everybody is aware and using and thinking about the Sustainable Development Goals. And I was just at a fair yesterday at SUNY Oneonta, where SUNY COIL is hosted, and I got to sit at the 17th table. And so whether you have nursing students who need to have their nursing students connect in intercultural teams for their national accreditation, or you just need some kind of commonality with your partner's students, you can always look to the Sustainable Development Goals. And also this gives your students a chance to think and realize and be a part of and implement ideas that could possibly support helping save our planet and think about this larger community that we're all in. Over to you.
So as Hope mentioned, the instructional design process is key in the success of COIL. And here you'll see our students who are maritime students. They're going for the Coast Guard licensing. And the students at Lyceum, Northeastern University in the Philippines. They are coordinating with 2 courses each, 2 professors each, 2 or 3 professors. So we've had 50 and 50 on each side. And I've been assisting them and helping them think about the design of their project. And so this particular course at Maritime is mandatory for the license. And so they're looking into the sustainability, the environmental aspect of the ocean, actually, and how, as mariners and Coast Guard members, they need to be mindful of the pollution of the ocean. And the same at Lyceum. They're doing similar, although they have different guidelines. The U.S. has theirs, the Philippines has theirs, and they coordinate together to do a research project on UN sustainability goals. And that's something that never occurred to our professors to incorporate into their course. So this is something new. They love it. This is the second year where we're doing it, and they want to continue doing this. And it's been highly successful with this particular um, uh, course on both ends.
Yay. All right, Adele, this is you. What do you think?
So going into Oscar, if you've heard of Oscar, it's guidelines and standards on quality online courses. Pretty much what you would find in an Oscar rubric is what you would need for a successful COIL project, because while the courses may be traditional, they are online when it comes to COIL. So you have to consider the course design. You need to consider the learning outcomes. You need to consider the technology used, both synchronous and asynchronous. Are they using Zoom? Are they using Teams? Are they going to use Padlet? Are they going to use Google Docs? How are they going to share? Are they going to use WhatsApp to communicate, email? So all those things are decided by the two professors, the two ends. And then, accessibility and UDL principles also come into play, very important. And it aligns with the community of inquiry, just like it would in regular, typical, fully online courses. And it brings in the theory of Bandura and social learning theories, where students learn from each other. They learn to behave. They learn how to interact with each other. And it's a slow process, but it happens.
Thank you. Dr. Simon, there you go.
Okay, so when we start talking about COIL and we start talking about Oscar, there's some fundamental overlaps that we see that are essential to all of our courses, regardless of the modality and regardless of where we're teaching. First thing we need to do is to come up with learning outcomes. And that's where Oscar really kind of helped our COIL project by taking a look at how we fundamentally look at our course, our partner's course, and our shared project in between. So we came up with some learning outcomes that are just very short statements to identify what the learners need to understand from both courses and then for the project. So there's always a synchronicity of bringing in terminology from both courses, and then to come up with how they're going to complete this task in a certain time frame. And we wanted to make sure that there were always 4 elements that we kept in mind. Our target audience, which is always our combined course, the action and behaviors that we take a look at for them to complete their project, such as collaborating and making sure that there's constant communication and open and safe communication. The conditions that we're allowing our students to work in. Remember, it's going to be online, so some of it's going to be synchronous, hopefully, and some of it will always be asynchronous. And making sure that we're mindful of the conditions of both of the partner institutes, what they have access to financially through institutions or personally if they're using their personal devices, making sure the conditions are met that their school is allowing certain technologies to be used, and some criterion degree that we need to behave and moderate some constraints that we have. So because of this, there are, again, those 4 elements of the learning outcome. Our audience, we want to make sure that we have individual participation and group participation for the collaboration so that every voice is heard equally. And I think most of us can safely say that we will partner our students up together and then jointly so that our students always have that collaboration and that communication with their own partners in their own campus. And then certainly that team will now form a larger team with our partner institution, making sure that our learning outcomes have good action verbs, using Blue's taxonomy, using Maslow's, to make sure that we're denoting that learning skill so that there's clear communication from the onset what the expectations are. Making sure, again, those circumstances or situation under which we're performing those tasks, including tools and resources, and that we're flexible with those tools and resources. mentioned before using Padlet. Anyone who knows me in COIL knows I'm a huge lover of Padlet because you can have those free accounts, and we try to make things free or freemium. Being flexible when our students post things, if they are a Google campus or a Microsoft campus, making sure that one has access to the other's work, or that we have a third shared space so that they can do individual work. Making sure that our students are aware that they will probably jump off into a social media platform. I had a student this semester who was very mindful and said, I don't use that platform. Can we find something else? That's perfectly fine and acceptable. You want to make sure that students feel safe enough to bring that to the table and say, this doesn't work for me. Can we find an alternate solution? And again, what's the acceptable level of performance or evidence of the skills? Always talking with your partner, making sure you have those conversations beforehand. We all have different criteria for our students and how we grade, making sure that there's a commonality so that everyone feels welcome.
These are so great and so simple. I love this. Thank you.
So how do we go about assessing our students? Again, there's so many different ways we assess our students. And when I say our students, I mean collectively. I always look at my partner and our students together. I'm assessing my students individually for my course, as are my partners, but we also need to find a commonality of how we go about assessing the project in general, whether it's a rubric or a different grading scheme, however it works for you and your partner and for your project, because all projects may be different. And I say projects collectively, we don't always necessarily do a project, it could just be an icebreaker. What works for your COIL experience? Maybe we should reframe it and start calling it an experience itself, how we go about assessing and what the end goal is going to be. Sometimes it works out wonderful. Sometimes just needs a little tweaking along the way. And that's what we want to be mindful of when we're designing it. You're not going to jump in cold. You do need to have those conversations before and throughout the COIL experience.
Yes, indeed. Okay.
So this is just a screenshot from my COIL. It doesn't have to be a certain time length. It doesn't have to have certain elements in it, but we always make sure that we do some type of icebreaker. I always like to do an initial survey. That's just me. I collect assessment data constantly, research data, but I want my students to understand what they're getting into. This was my choice, and this was my partner's choice to do a COIL project. My students need to be aware that this is a choice from my course and that they understand what they're getting into and what they're involved in. I happen to teach science, so for me, it's no different than my students working in a team for their lab course. So this is my choice for my course. It could be completely different for somebody else's. Again, we do an icebreaker, just making sure that all of the students feel welcome and all the students feel heard throughout the entire course. For some of you, this might be a great opportunity to say, wow, if you really strike a balance with another student, or you have a wonderful conversation, this might be someone you want to team up with. Or it may just be, we're having a great time having that open conversation, and let somebody else come up with the teams. Making sure that you reply to different students so that, again, you do have that initial communication and they understand from the onset, this will only work if we collaborate. That's the whole concept. We want to be able to share ideas and experiences. I give them a certain time frame where they're actually working in teams. So once they've done their icebreaker, they understand how to work together, and then they start working on their collaborative project. Once the project is over, we always do a reflection to make sure that everybody understands the thoughts and ideas, how they work together with their international partners, and what we could possibly do to change things or to enhance it for the future.
I'm sorry, I was muted. Two things about the timeline. The surveys are typically something that you and your partner try to figure out. Usually a common theme in a COIL is the world of work. Are they learning how to collaborate together? Are they learning how to use the technology well? Are they learning how to communicate together? Are they learning how to, give, submit their work on time? That's something that's important. And also, it's all about the world of work. So aside from that, reflection's really important in the beginning, but it's also really important every step of the way. This is not necessarily the type of thing where you're asking them to write an essay, but even to have a conversation to say, hey guys, how did it go? Any issues? Everything okay? And to be there to actually, kind of help them think through whatever issues they do have, because they will have issues communicating with the other side. And that's something that the two professors too need to discuss and say, hey, this is going on. You talk to yours, I'll talk to mine. And that's how you find things out, through discussions and reflection. So it's very important in COIL.
And it could be as informal or as formal as you and your partner decide.
Yep.
Okay, Adele.
Do you want to show the website?
Sure. Yeah, let's go.
Yeah. So here's our wonderful OSCQR rubric. And if you go to the standards, we have all kinds of resources. In the cultural awareness, can you go to the cultural awareness, Hope?
Sure.
Yeah. And the cultural awareness, and I just want to show this, go further down. We have some resources, and this is a great resource for your students or for you to review with your students. Further down, keep going. Okay, stop. The country guides to culture, customs, and etiquette. You could pick a country, just pick any country.
Let's do Venezuela.
Yeah, perfect. Scroll down, and it gives you the nuts and bolts of Venezuela, their mannerisms, their language, facts and statistics, even pretty pictures of Venezuela, their society and culture. So any country, I recently gave the Philippines to our professors and our students to review. And it's something that helps them understand them. And the Filipino students are looking at the US and to help us and them understand us. So that type of review is very important in COIL too. And you'll find tons of resources in the standards. We could go back to all the standards. Oh,
Oh, okay. Yep. Absolutely. Okay.
so cross-cultural awareness, intercultural communication, collaboration, teamwork skills. Those are the nuts and bolts of what COIL is about. And to be perfectly honest, COIL is not akin to study abroad. However, it is an important aspect for students to get their feet wet in learning how to collaborate on a global scale with others, communicate and work with others. Many corporations expect that of students and expect them to know how to do that and work well with others. So it's getting students out of that comfort zone. And these standards help the professor and the instructional designer know what to do and how to do it, and give you some guidelines, some really good guidelines on, you know, creating a good experience for students. Can we show the actual rubric or just a quick shot of it?
If someone else has it, I don't have it handy. If someone else wants to show it, that would be great. We do have a screenshot
Yeah,
Um,
show this
the
page
screenshot.
to discuss that.
Yeah, Jose Luis is going to talk about the Spanish version, but here it is in the Spanish version. So how about I'll give it over to Jose Luis.
Mhm.
Yes, I want to mention, like back in this rubric and the work we have done with research, and I want to mention I'm doing my dissertation at this moment, and when it's that longitudinal research, I'm going back to 6 years of COILs from different countries, and I'm interviewing students. And what I want to mention here two important factors that I am getting from these interviews. Number one, the practicality of the learning objectives in the job skills. And this is what I'm finding. Students that has graduated 6 years ago, they acknowledge strongly that they gain uh, skills in the job market, because today any student and any career in worldwide, they require to connect with people in different parts of the world, and they need to work in teams. So they are acknowledging that that coil that they did 6 years ago gave them those important skills for their job. And that's one of the important things that I want to mark here. The COIL, it doesn't stay as an activity in one semester in their career, but they are acknowledging that they're gaining those skills for their job market. And the second thing that I'm getting in these interviews is the awareness of the other that Adele mentioned. And they are acknowledging that awareness of the other, but that they are connecting also that awareness with their job. Because again, they're working in different parts of the world. Any career today, you need to connect with other people and make relationship with those people. So they're acknowledging that they're gaining those skills. And getting back to the rubric, taking that consideration when we were designing the rubric, we thought about languages and beyond languages. We designed the rubric understanding that diversity of cultures and ways and methodologies, ways of working. So all of that was considered in this process, and you can see here that we did it in Spanish, and we will do it in all the different languages. The same as Adele was showing, that there were like references for each country, and this rubric is going to go for different languages. But again, backing it on research, I'm finding in my research that COIL, it doesn't stay just as a simple evaluation or activity one semester in the whole career, but the students are acknowledging that those skills are very strong for their jobs 5, 6 years later.
One interesting thing is too, I've noticed in my 7 years of coiling, our students are so shy in the beginning. They don't want to collaborate and they don't want to talk to each other, not even to their own classmates. And it takes them out of their comfort zone. And by taking them out of their comfort zone, you're kind of forcing them to be out of that comfort zone and to really learn. And in the end, they're saying, this wasn't bad. This was kind of fun. I'm friends with so and so. And it makes me feel good that they're out of that place where they don't want to talk to anybody, but now they have, and actually made a friend and they've collaborated with them, and they could go on and do that at another time without that fear that they had initially.
Yeah, Adele, one important thing here, and Nicole also mentioned, in terms of the survey, the pre-survey and the post-survey, and sometimes that post-survey can be misread because of that stress that you are mentioning. They might think that they didn't gain anything, or they were too stressed out to communicate with someone in another country. But and what I'm finding 6 years later, that stress is gone. They have matured, and they can evaluate that experience really changed their lives. And that's very interesting to measure that sometimes those surveys might be misread, but the gains later are stronger.
Nicole, before you have to go, do you want to say anything?
Sure. For those of you who are not familiar with Oscar, you really need to be familiar with Oscar. It's the gold standard for all modalities of teaching. And I'm going to let Alex really kind of explain more in depth about Oscar. But Oscar is there to help guide how you create a course. Now, we're not recreating a course, obviously. We're creating a COIL experience. And that's what we took a look at when I talked earlier about those learning outcomes. We took a look at the 4 main areas that both Adele and Jose Luis and I have all been striving at. Teamwork. It's not going to work without teamwork. We want to make sure we can collaborate. Who are we collaborating with? Our international partners. So we want to make sure that we have that cross-cultural communication. And those guides are so helpful in learning more about your partner and more about the world that they live in, not just the country that they live in. Making sure that we have collaboration and intercultural communication, where we understand how to communicate with each other, whether it's in our joint native tongues or coming to a third space. There's so much technology out there to be able to communicate in someone else's world and their experience. And then certainly making sure that we are mindful of that collaboration as well. So what we did was we joined forces with Oscar. We shared a little bit more information about COIL itself. And then we took those 4 different learning outcomes and modeled our pages after the original Oscar so that they look very uniform, but it gives you ways in which you can understand that learning outcome, how it applies to COIL, some more resources, and how you can share and understand a little bit more in depth for your students, for your partners, and for their institutions. It's a great guide to start building your project or giving a refresh on the project you may already have to help really build in more of that team experience where we're collaborating and we're bringing in one another's course into our course itself.
I also want to state a big thank you to Alex Pickett, because if it were not for her and her belief in this, it would not be on the website. So kudos to Alex for being
Yes.
such a strong supporter.
Indeed. Yay. Yes. And we definitely want to hear from you. Alejandra, actually, this is really good timing. We're just going to the slide about the fact that we won an award. And thanks to you, we even were in the running for this. And Jose Luis, you were going to speak to this because it made a huge difference at your institution. So please share.
You want me to go first, or Alex?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, you first and then Alejandra.
Well, first, Alexandra, so she explained what the prize is about, and then I can mention the impact on university in South America, what that prize meant for us. So Alexandra, go ahead.
Sure, Jose Luis. Hi, everyone. Sorry I was late. I just, in terms of the WCET WOW Award, WCET is a national association that we are members in, and it's a wonderful organization that focuses, I think, quite a lot on policy, and they have annual conferences and awards, and so they have been a very supportive organization and an engaging organization for us to be involved in on a lot of different things, but they're supportive of our work with Oscar. And so when it came time to there to call for nominations for this year's awards, or I think it was 2024 now at this stage, because I think it was awarded in October of 2024. The work that the COIL group had done was worthy, I think, and they thought so too, of this award. And so we were very honored to be one of the people that was recognized in 2024 by WCET with this national award. So, Jose Luis, I'll turn it over to you to talk about the impact of that for your institution. I'm so thrilled to see you, hi, and to hear about this.
Yes, I want to mention it was a long process to get the plaque to Venezuela. We had to go through different channels, but we got it in Venezuela. But what I want to mention is the impact, because right now Venezuela is struggling a lot. And education in Venezuela is struggling a lot, and our institution, we are losing a lot of students because of the economic situation. So having the opportunity to contribute with SUNY and all the team, and say, hey, listen, even that we are here forgotten in the planet, we still can contribute with the global education. That was a very strong for our morale, for the institution morale, and for just showing, hey, listen, our institution is doing this, and it got a prize with SUNY. We did a ceremony, and I gave the plaque to the rector of the university, and that was very, very powerful for us. Again, that we in a different part of the planet, which we thought about designing this rubric and these standards, that it was for everybody. The third space, we all contribute with some part to the construction of a new way of education, and that is very powerful for us to be part of this project.
Sure is. What I'd really like to do is to take some time, because honestly, the SUNY online community has not been so interested in COIL in these past years. There's been a smattering of instructional designers that have been interested, and I just would love it if people could come back and share and talk to us on screen, and share what could help make COIL happen at your campus at this point, because we're doing this work and we love it, and we see how much it impacts students, especially when they go out into the world and they get jobs and then they realize, oh, knowing how to work interculturally has made a huge difference to my career trajectory. And for some reason, the SUNY COIL hasn't been able to figure out how to make inroads, especially with the instructional design community. And that was one of the reasons why we wanted to connect to the Oscar rubric. So I would love to find out from all of you what would help us to connect to this community better and how we could support you on your campus. And I'd also like to bring in, is Jay still on the call? She is. We have a professor amongst us who is been coiling for quite a while. She has published, she has presented internationally, and she obviously sees the value. So I would love for you to jump in and say why maybe these instructional designers might want to join the COIL bandwagon. Yeah.
Thank you, Hope, for the invitation. At Broadport, we have two wonderful instruction designers who are very supportive to COIL. They joined our COIL committee, and they provide support to our faculty members who are planning or revising their COIL courses. One thing I think kind of become a barrier for instructional designer or designers to focus on COIL is because they have so many other tasks. Like it's constant changing, like from Blackboard to
Sure.
Brightspace.
But hopefully
And
we
then
settle down that a little bit now. I get that the whole transition of technology definitely impacted
yeah,
our instructional designers' opportunity to do this. But
yeah.
the other thing to note is that there's a librarian at Brockport who's interested in COIL, and that oftentimes instructional designers think of them as that they're the only person that would support somebody doing this. But it turns out that there could be an informal team that you could bring around you. Maybe somebody from your international program that could see this as an on-ramp to doing travel. You can also connect to student services. You can connect to EOP people. You can connect to first year experience people. There's a whole bunch of initiatives probably going on at your campus. I don't know if people have noticed, but the chancellor of all of SUNY, John King, is very excited about experiential learning, and doing COIL is a perfect way to do that. So sorry to butt in on what you were saying, but go ahead, Jay, if there's anything.
No, this is great. Thank you for bringing the librarian's role. Yeah, Jennifer Kegler is one of the librarians who have been working closely with our COIL, and we have Logan Rath, who also support some of our COIL faculty members as well. But Jennifer has, I think, the longest history
Right.
of collaborating in COIL.
Another thing that they do at Brockport, which is something that you all could think of on your campus, and this is something they do at SUNY Alfred, is COIL is a pedagogy that's part of your toolbox. And when they shine a light on COIL efforts at SUNY Alfred, Deepa is combining and thinking about all the different modalities that people are using and shining a spotlight on. So you could think of this as part of your toolkit. And Aileen, we'd love to hear from you at some point.
You used the word toolbox. I was like, I'm going to mention something about toolbox, and then you used it. So, hi everyone. My name is Aline Slating. I am the instructional designer at SUNY Delhi. It's been a while since our campus was involved with COIL. But when we were in years past, I was also the COIL coordinator, and I've done 2 or 3 projects. And I've also worked with Hope for a while, and it's really good to see you. Frankly, I'm actually here out of personal interest because I love COIL, and I was actually very excited to see how COIL has aligned with OSCQR standards, which I think is a great, not to use the word tool again, but it is a great way that you can kind of help those instructional designers, help those faculty, and also help your administration, because I think that's actually a key piece that, like, one of the reasons why our campus hasn't engaged recently is because we've kind of been going through changes. But I do think that's a key group to have on board to help expand awareness, participation, and frankly, interest. Because if your faculty see that the administration value this, then that will expand down to them as well. I also think, and it was mentioned earlier in the presentation, hearing student feedback is really valuable. And even if you can't hear from students directly, seeing their work or even, having anonymous survey responses is also really impactful. I remember, and we're going back to like 2017, so you can do that math, but I still remember a response from a student who in class, she had anxiety, just didn't want to speak out loud, whatever it was. And I had done pre and post surveys, and her post response was something to the effect of like, it gave her the opportunity to not feel so nervous because she knew other people were also nervous. And that was like a powerful thing for her. So even if, you have these learning outcomes and you're like, I think we're on track, I think we're doing well, there's also like these other soft skills that students are also gaining. So, I can't say enough about COIL because I love it. Yeah, it's a good thing. It's always exciting and engaging, and people, they carry it with them, so it's great.
Excellent. And I do want to say that there is recent research and data that aligns student well-being in the classroom to doing COIL. So that's a huge game changer for some in terms of we think of supporting mental health of our students co-curricularly, but here's a chance that you can do it curricularly. So thanks, Aileen. And Alejandra, would you like to say a few words?
Oh, I am just such a fan and so supportive of COIL and the work that you do, and want to continue to be supportive, to any extent possible, to encourage folks who might be interested within our online instructional design community to reach out to you for more information. And to talk about how it might be something that existing in online faculty might engage in or consider engaging in for all of the wonderful reasons that you discussed, which align with the chancellor's objectives for for lots of different things, including DEI, including the development of the skills that are targeted by the OSCQR COIL standards. So to me, this is a wonderful opportunity to engage our online instructional designers and online faculty, as well as other faculty who might be interested to engage in a scaffolded and supported way in having this experience for themselves as well as for their learners. So I'm a fan and want to help to connect the COIL folks with the SUNY online community of practice to see what to mix the chocolate and the peanut butter, like I always say, and to support that. So I'm just thrilled, to be able to, witness and be a part of and contribute to and support however it is that I can. And I'm hoping that you'll come back and maybe in the fall and do another webinar for us. And continue to try and get the word out to our not only our internal SUNY community of practice, but broader. And we'd like to continue to help spread that word and to support this work and to engage in it. So yeah.
So someone in the chat wrote that they didn't necessarily idea how what is the connection of an instructional designer to COIL? And I just want to tell my personal story, which is that when I started out as an instructional designer, I noticed that it's very hard to convince professors to do anything or to try anything. They're completely overloaded, and they were even in 2006 and 2005 when I started. And but they love incentives. They love opportunities to help them shine, like the fact that our friend at Brockport, Jay, has published and also presented internationally. If there are ways in which that what you're doing and you want your professors to do aligns with a certain pedagogy, to me, that's like, oh, here, this is exactly what you need. So in this case, I often saw that professors were struggling with the idea of letting go of being the lecturer. They had a really hard time of letting go of that teamwork is really hard to do. And so for me, helping professors see that having them facilitate and coach their students as opposed to be the mama bird with and putting the food in the baby bird mouth, to let the students, fall and not actually succeed or succeed, and then help them get better from that, was really important. And I know that it's hard because professors are really nervous about their student reviews, which Jose Luis brought up this morning earlier when we were talking. But I will say, if they can exercise this muscle of letting go and letting the students try to figure it out, this is where we learn how to do things in an experience. So for me, that was my big light bulb moment of connecting COIL to what we're doing, because connecting with somebody internationally, I mean, isn't it wonderful to have Jose Luis here today? We have Caracas in the house. Woo! I mean, to have your students meet people from somewhere else in the world, especially when our students are, they're in somewhat of a bubble of where they live and what they think of the world. And yeah, so it's definitely something that uh, we all need to think about, especially right now. So I'm blabbering on. Let's any other questions? And I love what people are writing in the chat. It's great. Jose Luis, do you want to say anything more?
Just wanted to mention that we were speaking this morning, that the skills that students gain and connecting with the sustainable development goals is the leadership beyond the job skills that they develop during COIL. They also are becoming leaders for the transformation of a new form of education and connection. Leadership, I think in the past has failed us, and we need to develop a new form of leadership. And by doing these collaborations, students are getting together and they are discussing about solution of the planet. I tell my students, I mean, you're going to have children, you want to provide them a quality of life, and through COIL, through connection with others, young people in the planet, all new forms of leadership, we are going to be able to overcome those problems that we're facing right now. That's what I want to mention.
Thank you so much. And Adele, do you want to take us out?
Yeah, so word on instructional design. It has been my experience that once you sit down with a professor and really, especially with online courses, to help them think about what they're assessing and what the learning activities are, once they really think about it and hone in on that, they realize they become better instructors, they become better teachers, and they buy into the whole ID situation. So it's been my experience that, they become better teachers. Same with COIL. You become a better COILer with ID. So,
Yay. Two-way street. Back to
that's
you,
right.
Erin.
I love the term coiler. Who wouldn't want to be a coiler? I think it's great. We've used it as a noun and a verb, and it's just been so fun. I really appreciate everyone who was able to attend and all of you who have shared your really wonderful experiences using COIL. I hope that this sparks some interest in others and that you take this back to your campus and share what these folks have been doing. And we have other opportunities to continue to share this throughout our community. I've posted in the chat, we have our recordings on that first bit.ly. And this session will be posted there later this afternoon. And we're currently planning for the fall semester. So if you have topics that you would love to hear from our community experts on, please let us know that on our webinar survey. And COIL will be at CIT. Awesome.
That's right.
That's
We
great.
will. We're having 3 events, and in person and online. And so lots of opportunities to ask questions, to talk to people who are doing it. So please join us at CIT. And we're also going to be celebrating that day our SUNY COIL Ambassadors, which is a brand new program
I'm
that
so
we're
excited.
doing. And that will have a badge for the person that our coordinators have picked for each campus.
Do you have
That's
a link,
fantastic.
Hope, to put in the chat? Just in case,
Yeah,
maybe somebody, who's still here, has faculty that they'd like to nominate.
right.
Yeah,
Okay,
that's
let me do
awesome.
that.
So CIT this year is at SUNY Oneonta. And if folks are interested, there's a website there for more information on CIT. Great, thank you, Hope. Okay,
Yeah,
awesome. So we hope to see folks at our another event in the future. Stay tuned for more programming, and please do fill out the survey to help us as we plan for the next series.